Hi everybody and welcome. It is lovely to see you. It's lovely to have you here. My phone's just telling me to do things, telling me to manage my live and manage who's watching, and there might be questions as well. I could add face filters. Thanks very much for letting me know that. How are we all? Nice to have you here. Lovely. This wonderful occasion. I cannot wait until my guests join me. As you may or may not be aware, I'm a bit of a fan of his wonderful humour. Oh, there you go. Hello.
Hello. I hope you didn't see the camera the wrong way around there. That was a very professional joining of this live.
Oh,
yeah.
Definitely didn't see any cameras the wrong way around. In fact, I did turn it on and mine was pointing directly at the Gustav Klimt print that we have behind my ring light. So, you know, I've done the same. Hello.
Hello. Hi. How are you?
I'm very well. Yourselves?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, really good. Yeah.
Excellent news. I'm a bit warm because I'm at the front of the house where the sun hits directly on here, and I had the bright idea to wear this black T-shirt today. Luckily, we're on the internet. We're not face to face because I don't smell fantastic. But that's all. That's all.
You get to gloat with us about sun though, Harry. So you know you win in that sense. It's definitely not on here. So there you go.
Sorry about that. My apologies. It is lovely to see you. Lovely to have you on. It's not the first time I've spoken to you, obviously. It's not the first time I've interviewed you, Amy, but it is the first time I've interviewed Ella. So,
yeah.
Hooray. That's very exciting. And what we're going to talk about today is SDG13, climate action. I don't want to get started on it because I might get ranty. So I'm not going to get too much into that. But before we do dive into it, who are Amy and Ella Meek?
We'll start with Ella since it's her first time being interviewed.
Oh,
When you do the introduction, Ella, no pressure there.
Yeah, so we're Amy and Ella. I'm 16 years old and Amy is 18 years old. And we've been running our charity Kids Against Plastic since 2016 now. So it's been quite a few years and hopefully very many years left to go as well. And we're just really passionate about protecting the environment because we have a love for animals and the planet after growing up spending as much time as we can in the outdoors, just appreciating nature. So yeah, that's why we have such a passion for the planet, and that's why we wanted to protect it when we were actually studying the UN's global goals and found out about this issue of plastic pollution, and we just knew we had to do something, and so that's where we are now.
Amazing. And you're still at school, aren't you, Ella? And so you've been doing this for 6 years now, and you're still at school, which is kind of impressive. Amy, you're not at school anymore, are you? You just finished.
No.
But you know, so I just want to draw everyone's attention into that. So these people we're speaking to right now have been campaigning and working on their charity for 6 years, and they're still just around school age. So just let that sink in for a minute, everybody. It's quite impressive. Now, I was really intelligent before I started this at live. I didn't remember that all of the questions were on my phone, but luckily I sent them to my computer as well. So if you see me just like ducking down and checking down there, I'm not hiding to like do some hilarious trick. I am actually just checking and making sure. What I have next. Now, I want to know SDG13, climate action. You mentioned, Ella, that the SDGs were one of the inspirations behind the charity, which started 6 years ago. So the SDGs, as we know, are now 7 years old. I love and hate the SDGs. I love them as a framework for learning. I hate them for many other reasons. Oh, hi there, Poojan, who just said hello. Thanks very much for joining. SDG 13, climate action. Now, I'm going to take the SDG part out of it and just leave it as climate action. What is climate action to you?
Well, a really big question to start with, I think, is the big one. I mean, looking at it separately from the SDGs, because I think you're completely right in the terms of, I think the SDGs can be a bit of a love-hate thing. I think for us, obviously they were the real inspirations for us and really got us involved. Although, like any targets around climate action or around, global action, there are obviously some flaws to it. But so looking at it, as you said, separately from the actual SDG13, I think climate action is one of those, it's such a broad term. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it, because basically at the heart of it is this principle that, we've got a very rapidly ticking down clock of the amount of time left that we have to take action for the climate. So we've got these deadlines, these targets in terms of warming, the amount of degrees we need to reach to actually have a habitable planet in the future. So, that's the core of climate action. But then when it comes to the actual action part of that word, I think that's where it gets really interesting, because climate action can take so many different forms. And I think that's one of the beauties of it, because you've got sort of the SDG side of it, which is a lot of the policy work around it, the governmental kind of business also level of action for the climate. But then you've also got things that, we as grassroots campaigners, individuals, or smaller organizations, that everyone really can get involved in to help reach these climate targets in so many different ways. And whether that links to the SDGs, whether it's through protests, which is obviously a very big form of climate action that we've seen, whether it's through campaigns like ours, which aren't particularly focused just on climate change, but link really closely to it. I think it's just such a broad movement, and one that's really encompassing of any way that you want to get involved in trying to help stop climate change.
Yeah, I like to look at climate action as being, in a very basic way, every action you take to help the climate, so
Exactly.
But I want people to realize that you do still need to do stuff. You can't just have that one thing and be like, that's my climate action, done my climate action for the day, excellent, don't worry, I've separated my recycling, so I'm going to go up and drive down to the shop that's 300 meters away. So yeah, for me, climate action is every action you take towards the environment and trying to make it better, And there can be these huge actions you do, or these small actions. But for me, as long as you're continually taking action and taking more action as you go, then you can be, I don't know, feel at peace with yourself, maybe? I don't know. Like, that's how I feel anyway. I know I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I try to improve with it. Now, Kids Against Plastic, obviously it's been a huge influence on your life. That kind of goes without saying. It's been a massive influence on my life as well, and my daughter. You know Ali. Everybody knows Ali. She's the only reason anybody watches Renewable English. And what I can see from kind of an inside-ish point of view, I can see the way you're developing climate action. But how has climate action affected Kids Against Plastic? How has Kids Against Plastic adapted because of climate action?
Well, I think as we find out more and more about climate change, we can see more and more links with all of the other environmental issues that are happening in the world, and especially with plastic pollution. Or for us in particular, that's something that we've noticed more and more links being developed. So when we first founded Kids Against Plastic, we were researching plastic pollution and finding out things about how much oil is used to produce a bottle, for example, and which types of how plastic's so great to transport because it's so light. All of this kind of thing that we were researching years ago without really noticing how this will have an impact on climate change, because it wasn't as spoken about back then. So it's really interesting now to look back on everything that we found out and really see, oh, well, this has been developing for quite a long time and we just haven't really noticed. So yeah, there are loads of links with plastic pollution and climate change and all environmental issues, and it's just about finding an action that can help with all of these issues. And for us, what we'd like to point out that can help out with all of these is just making small changes that are achievable in your life. Like you were saying, Harry, that can make a big difference and make you feel comfortable with yourself that you're making a difference. And it doesn't have to be something massive like starting a charity or being really outspoken about it, but just making changes in your life or helping other people make changes is something that's really underestimated, but can help with all of these linked issues.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think what Ella was saying about how, we've realised more and more how climate change and plastic are related. I think also as we've grown up a bit and matured as young people and seeing how these all connect. But I think what's the real power of that is exactly as Ella was saying, is getting involved in tackling plastic pollution sort of offers you that first step in getting involved in climate action. If you're looking at the massive issue of climate change and feeling really overwhelmed, like pretty much everyone, I think, who's just coming to find out more about this issue and then realise how massive it is. So I think that, like Ella was saying, plastic pollution offers almost a great first step to get involved in tackling climate change, especially as it's a really crucial one, because there's so many forecasts of how, as we start to transition towards, more green energy and we start to decarbonise so many different areas of society, it's actually going to be plastic pollution and plastic production and consumption that's going to be one of the leading causes of climate change through consumption of fossil fuels in sort of the next 20 years to come. And that's still predicted to grow, even whilst other industries start to, decrease their market share in fossil fuels. So it's a really fascinating issue. And I think that because they're so linked together, it's had to become a bigger part of our campaigning. And also, with the young people that we work with, so many young kids now have such an awareness of climate change that we didn't see 6 years ago when we started our charity, because, as Ella said, it wasn't talked about as much as it is now. I mean, obviously it was still around as an issue, but public perception of it has really grown in the last years. And I think seeing how many kids are engaged with climate change now and aware of it, and like we've just had a new member of our Kids Against Plastic team, Raven, who is our climate, she said to us her focus, she wants to look at the links between plastic and climate change. So she's our, climate education officer now. And so I think it's had to become a big part because of the impact it's going to have, but also because of, with young people being the heart of our work, they're becoming more interested in this issue as well. So yeah, I think that's a big part of it. And we've just published our second book, which is focused on climate change. So it's been a real natural progression, I think, over the years.
I'm going to get to the book in just a second. The thing you mentioned about the young people being involved, for me, is like from what I see, it's beautiful to see. It's lovely to see these weekly meetings with kids coming in and joining. I know there are kids who obviously aren't able to come to the meetings that are still doing their bit against plastic. And it really is a wonderful starting point for environmentalism. Just seeing my daughter, seeing Ali, the way she's grown, like she's had me banging on for years and years about all sorts of environmental stuff. She didn't really listen to me very much. Comes to one meeting with you guys and was like, did you hear what Amy and Ella said? Did you hear what they said about that? It's like, seriously, like. But it's amazing for me to see that, that engagement that you have with these younger people. You talk about Raven and Anaya as well. These people are, it must be weird for you to say this, but these people are the future. Like, it must be weird for you to say that as you're still very young. But you can really see them growing into it, and it's amazing. And now, back to the book. Tell me about the book.
Oh, and we get to do a shameless book plug on Instagram. Thank you, Harry. That's priceless. But yeah, we just had, it was almost 3 weeks ago now, 2 weeks ago, our second book, Be Climate Clever, was published, which, I mean, obviously our first book was focused on plastic pollution, as you might imagine. But Be Climate Clever is kind of pretty similar to the first book in many ways, in the same way that it has the real essence of what Kids Against Plastic is about, which is around education on these issues, but education in a way that's accessible to anyone really, or as many people as possible, in particular young people, because I think we often see climate change as an issue that is almost too hard for young kids to understand, and it's almost like, let's try and protect them from climate change and from the impacts it'll have until they're sort of a teenager, for example. When I think that it doesn't have to be that way. So many kids are already aware of the issue, and actually by properly engaging them in it and showing them the ways that they can be involved in tackling it, you can really help to combat big issues like climate change itself, but also eco-anxiety and things that are really growing in young people. So, Be Plastic Clever was all around, environmental education on plastics, and then showing the ways that you can take action at home, and also use your voice for good. And that's exactly what Be Climate Clever is about as well. It's really about breaking down this massive issue of climate change as much as possible, and interviewing incredible people like, I think there's someone from an organisation called Renewable English in there, I think it might be, if I remember rightly. But so kind of hearing so many different perspectives on this issue, seeing what you can do at home, but then also taking that really important next step in climate action, which is spreading the word, taking wider action, because whilst the smaller bits at home individually all are so important and really add up, if we can actually then use our voice, which is one of the most powerful things we have, to take action, then that will really make an even bigger difference. So yeah, that's kind of what Be Climate Clever is about. And it's aimed at kids, but I think hopefully it's something that anyone could pick up and find useful, almost as a toolkit to starting their climate action.
And where can we find this amazing book?
Well, you go to your nearest independent bookstore, and no, I mean, honestly, yeah, I don't like saying Amazon, because obviously Amazon, not the best company, but Amazon, and also in the UK, so many of the bookstores and independents. So yeah, anywhere you get your books, I guess. Sounds like a podcast. I'm promoting a podcast. That's what everyone says, a podcast, right? Wherever you get your podcasts.
Get a book from this podcast, please. Now, we mentioned using our voices. Now, there has been a huge increase in direct action in protesting. Fridays for Future has been a massive influence in that. And just recently, Just Stop Oil have been, going that step further. I completely sympathise with what they're doing. I completely support them. I think, it might be annoying for people who can't get petrol every day and maybe can't get to the shops as easily as they were able to before. And the convenience factor might be a bit annoying. Also, you can hear my dog barking there, my apologies. But just watching the Good Morning Britain the other day with Richard Madeley and Lowry Turner,
we feel you, Harry, yeah.
So mad. Now, I imagine as, two young people yourselves, it's something you've probably experienced in the past, and you'll definitely experience again, despite the fact, you've written 2 books and have a successful charity running, despite that, you're still very young, so you probably don't understand things properly. And that was the whole thing I could feel for Miranda on the show. Richard Madeley there talking about this being a bit too much like a playground, and Vicky Pollard, and this is from a man who steals from supermarkets, like the most teenage thing to do in the world. Like, come on. Yeah, how did you feel about watching that? How did that resonate with you both?
Well, I actually saw a quote just the other day that I think applies really well to this kind of situation, and it was some people who were involved in climate strikes holding up signs saying, why send us back to school if you won't listen to the educated people? And I think that really applies to this situation of calling young people not educated on how the world works, but really we're the people who are speaking out, trying to protect the planet. And if people want to call kids uneducated, then maybe listen to the climate scientists who have been giving advice on this for years. So it can be really frustrating to not be listened to because of your youth. But I think it is important to re-emphasize how many young people are now speaking out and not taking no for an answer, and how inspiring that really is, and how it inspires more and more people to join in as well. So as frustrating as it is, to keep on the positive side, there are more young people who are taking action, and that is how we're going to make a difference. Because if people just listen to people talking about it on television, or the odd politician who might say that we're just young kids and we don't know what we're talking about, then we're not going to get anywhere if we just listen to that. So it's instead taking from that we need to look at our approach more or get more and more people involved. And that's what we've been seeing in the recent years with more and more young people getting involved in these strikes and taking action. So yeah, it is frustrating, but it's really inspiring and rewarding and just great to see how many people aren't letting that faze them and are instead taking their action further, because it's too late to turn back now. We do need to make a difference as soon as possible. And the only way to do that is to keep on the action that people are doing.
Yeah, and I think that, that point as well about people, they're doing this for a reason, I think is what people like Richard Madeley sometimes forget, is that you can call it a playground, but ultimately, even if you don't agree with their methods, we don't personally take that method of getting people involved, but you've got to respect that there is real urgency needed in this issue. And there's always, you always need that disruptive element to activism, in any movement in the past. You need that to actually get people to listen and to have the success and put the pressure on. And I think it's kind of ironic that he was saying it was like a playground and this childish action when, I think it was days before or days after, there were literal climate scientists in America who were going on strikes and saying, look, you're not listening to us. It's been decades that this science has been published. How can we get you to listen? And they have to resort to methods like this because we're running out of time and because they need to get this message out there. So, yeah, I think a lot of irony there. And I think especially when you see, the film Don't Look Up and how many similarities there were between that interview and supposedly a satirical comedy around ignoring a catastrophe until it's too late. So I think exactly as Ella said, it's about kind of, getting frustrated, getting angry rightfully about that sort of behaviour around this issue, but then using it as fuel for the fire to say, look, because as much as I didn't like the way the interview was conducted, it got people talking about the issue and the protests and about how the media needs to do more to further climate action as well. So yeah, it is very frustrating, but like Ella said, staying positive, keeping going, that's always the most important thing.
Excellent. Sorry, I had to go on mute there because my dog's obviously seen one of her friends in the street and she's gone absolutely crazy. Or I think she was actually just agreeing with you. She's just trying to have her voice heard.
Trying to cut me off. Yeah, don't blame her.
No, I completely agree. And the fact that you mentioned about the scientists who also got arrested as well a few days earlier, that it isn't, the point isn't that people are young, that they're not being listened to. It's that people are saying things that other people don't want to hear, so people aren't listening to them. Because as soon as the climate scientists were saying it, they weren't saying, you aren't educated enough. No, it's like, no, you shouldn't be chaining yourself to this bank, so you're under arrest. It's because they want to be silenced. So, like you say, we do need to shout louder. We do need to make as much noise as possible, which is one of Ali's top tips coming out tomorrow, actually. So yeah, we'll all be able to enjoy those very soon. It's been a pleasure. It's been wonderful. I was just trying to check what the time was to make sure I hadn't overrun with you. I don't think I have. I don't think there are any. Oh, hang on. There we go. Danica Milos has asked if you were sisters because you're so much alike.
Yes, we are sisters. Yeah. Although 2 years age gap, although we have been called twins too many times recently for my liking.
Yeah, twins, or I'm the older one.
Yeah, so I don't know when this happened. But yeah, we are sisters.
I used to get that like with my brother. He's 4 years older than me. Until I went bald, almost a year ago now, everyone always could obviously tell that I was the younger one. That isn't the case anymore. Now people are like, are you older than your brother? It's like, no, he's 4 years older than me. Come on, seriously.
I need to do that. I need to get the razor out. There we go. Got the strategy now.
Enjoy it now, though, because it's better that, when you're older, if she looks older than you, then you'll be able to throw that back in her face. Anyway, it's been lovely speaking to you. Is there anything you'd like to add at the end?
No, I don't think so. I guess we're looking forward to seeing Ali's tips and seeing Ali at the weekly meeting as well. But thanks so much for having us on, Harry, and it's been great to speak about this.
It's an absolute pleasure. And yeah, anybody out there who's listening, check out kidsagainstplastic.co.uk if you want to join the amazing Kids Against Plastic Club. Come to the Connects on Saturdays. All the coolest kids are there. and sometimes I'm also lurking in the background. So even the not very cool adults will be there too. So it's been lovely. Thank you so much. An absolute pleasure. Enjoy your evening. I'm off for a walk in the sun to try and make Estrella calm down a bit because she obviously needs to be walked. Yeah, have a lovely evening, ladies. Thank you so much.
Yeah, enjoy.
Thank
See you later.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.